Hi and welcome. In this presentation we're going to talk about the surveys and methods used to measure anthropometric and physical activity levels in Australia. First, we're going to talk about the survey and methods used in Australia and we're going to describe them. Then we'll look in more details at the advantages and limitation of the methods. And last, we're going to understand how these limitations affect the validity and reliability of the methods. And we're going to do all this by looking at an interesting survey done in Australia in 2011 and 2013. But before we start, it's important to understand what validity and reliability are. Validity is involved with the accuracy of our questions and answer. Reliability is concerned with the consistency of what has been measured. Let's look at the example of the target and errors. If the errors are grouped but not on bullseye, the test shows consistency but not accuracy. So the test is reliable but not valid. If the errors are not grouped and not on target, the test shows inconsistency. So it's neither reliable or valid. If the errors are grouped and on target, it shows consistency and accuracy. The test is valid and reliable. Now that we know what validity and reliability are, we can talk about the survey used in Australia to measure anthropometric and physical activity levels. The biggest, most comprehensive survey ever done in this country is the Australian Health Survey, which has involved the Australian population older than 2 years old. It combines the National Health Survey that already existed with two new elements: a National Nutrition and Physical Activity Survey and a National Health Measure Survey, where every person older than 5 years old could voluntarily participate. The survey was through a computer-assisted personal interview, as well as a second interview with a computer-assisted telephone interview. The anthropometric measurements are the measurements of the body, such as height, weight, waist, hip and arm circumference, and blood pressure. These measurements are particularly important to help understand the percentage of population with health risk factors, which can be done by calculating how many people are obese or overweight, as well as by calculating their blood pressure. The physical activity modules covered in the survey are exercise, sedentary behavior, household rules on screen-based equipment, and sleep. So, what are the advantages of a survey? The computer-based surveys are usually the most effective mode of research, although they cannot reach people living in more remote areas, which are usually directed to a more traditional methods like paper survey. They can register data from a very big number of respondents. When a survey is done on such a large scale like the Australian Health Survey, the validity of the test can be very high. Numerous questions can be asked, covering a wide range of arguments in order to lower the bias. At the same time, the survey is reliable since respondents are asked to complete the same survey twice over a certain period of time in order to assess how stable the responses are. The limitation of the survey can be that the participant may not feel comfortable providing a honest answer or may not feel comfortable answering in a way that presents them in an unfavorable manner. Especially when it comes to self-reported surveys such as this one, there can be a risk of response bias, and this can lower the validity of the survey. Some bias can also come from errors of measurements. Let's think about the anthropometric measurements that the respondent were asked to provide. If they don't know how to take the measurements effectively, there will be an error in the measurements. Or there can be answers in questions that can create bias as they're not completely clear and therefore could be interpreted in the wrong way. For example, in a yes or no answer, the respondent may answer no if the option only once is not available. In conclusion, surveys on a large scale can provide us with some very reliable data on body measurements and how many people are at risk of certain disease, although it's always necessary to take into consideration the response bias that can lead to a lower test reliability. Thank you.